they have boards and they rank all the
Right.
guys, right? And they're like, hey, we're taking 3 defensive backs.
Right.
You're ranked number 4 out of them.
If this guy doesn't, then you're there.
Yeah.
That's got to suck.
And we all know what happened there.
Apparently they didn't take him. You didn't go to Kansas.
The Fest
The
podcast.
It's our first podcast.
We have arrived. For everybody out there that is listening, you know us. This is Luke and Jared. We do the Facebook Lives for ND Countryfest, which is our flagship festival. We are here. We have arrived, Jared.
We have. I'm on camera.
That was our first. Nobody's ever seen you on our Facebook. Never have known you when you're at the festival. Here he is in the flesh, everybody.
Jared Bennett.
The Jared.
The Jared.
Check him out. You got his last name.
I don't know if we want to go there. There's probably the Subway Jared's the bad Jared.
That was 100% your fault.
100% my fault for calling myself the Jared. You called me the Jared. All right, Luke, what are we doing here?
Hey, all about what this Fest podcast is about. We're going to give you the outline right here, and you can dig in deep with us. It's going to be fun. So first, everybody who comes over is always going to get your ND Countryfest updates.
And this is our sound check. This is what we're going to go over this week.
That's right. We'll start off with the soundtrack, what we're talking about.
Yep.
ND Countryfest updates, everything and anything you want to know about ND Countryfest during that week, because we're doing these weekly.
Right.
And then if you missed something, you can always go back to the prior podcast and see what you missed if you didn't get the updates.
Right. You can listen at your leisure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. After that, we're going to talk about
festival updates, festival news from around the world.
All right. Not just the U.S., the world.
And it could be any genre, right, Jared? What's your genre again?
I'm punk ska.
So it could be punk ska festival. It could be heavy metal,
right.
Festival. It could be pop festival.
Right.
What about a chocolate festival? Will we talk about that?
We might talk about a cheese festival because my wife's really into cheese and I may have picked it up through osmosis. I don't know. Any festival.
Here's the thing, too. We've been talking to a few other ones. They say, hey, once the fest starts going, maybe you want to shoot live from our festival and do your podcast there. And I'm like, anything's possible, my friends.
Bring some other people in and as guests and talk to them about what they're going through right now.
And then what I like to call the meat, which we're going into next, would be our headliner, which could be an interview from any of our past artists or future artists at ND Countryfest, or anybody in the music business that would come in and share some information with us and want to talk to us and give you, our listeners, some great insight on the business. But that doesn't stop there. We can also dig into our past,
right,
and our back pockets of sports folks that we really know, and they can come in because sports is also entertainment, right, Jerry?
Right. We may talk about sports. We may talk about other water cooler topics. We may talk about Game of Thrones because Luke finally finished it just recently. So I'm sorry.
I'm a little behind.
You're a little behind. This week, we would have talked about college football not playing or the Pac-12.
Because that affects everything.
Right.
Right. It's obviously been affecting everything.
Right.
But that's part of the entertainment world is college football. I enjoy it.
I love it. So
amongst anything, you're a big baseball fan too.
I am. I'm even following the Suns for the first time in about a decade, and they're playing. we're hoping Brooklyn beats somebody, so it's kind of crazy. But that's the stuff we talk about in the headliner. The first few of them, though, are going to be the ND Countryfest story. So.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right there. What we want to really do here for you on these first few podcasts might be the first 20 because there's a lot of information. First 20, I said.
It really depends on how much Luke football stories we go into. So
there won't be many of that.
Oh, shut up.
What'll be the ups and downs, the ins and outs of ND Countryfest, how it started, how we added folks from basically around the country. How does that taste, Jared?
It's going to taste pretty good.
Around the country to our team. These are some of the folks that have been around the industry for decades upon decades and stories upon stories. People that have managed huge, massive venues. And we really want to get in deep. We want to talk about why I started it and found it.
Right.
And then as it gradually goes through the years, and then all the characters, like I said, that we add along the way, but also all the ups and downs and where we are.
You call it the novel. I call it a documentary because I'm going to try to get it sold as a documentary. So
I heard you pitching that earlier today.
I think we may have found our aspiring film students to take that over, but I think it's a great documentary.
When you were pitching that today, I was sold. I was like,
Right?
That's pretty. Are you an attorney, Jared, or are you a salesperson?
I am. It's a great story from you being an insurance guy, which I don't think a lot of people know, to starting a country music festival that's 3 days with decent talent at the artist, to going through all the stuff that you went through with COVID and the pandemic and having to the last 6 months to what's going to happen next year. So
a definite roller coaster ride. Plenty of, I don't know if you want to call it drama, but plenty of information. You're like, whoa, right. How did that happen?
It's a hero story. Everybody's going to want you and Brandon to get through it.
Well, and what's great is that you were through it. You saw it every
right. We talked about it every day. We had to figure out what we were doing.
And you were like, hey, and I'd give you some info and you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then all of a sudden it would be like, hey, and you'd be like, oh, that's not good.
That's not good.
I'm like, no, it's not.
Or I'd come in and I'd listen to too much talk radio and I'd be down and you'd be up and then it'd go the other way. It was just a weird lockdown time.
So we are going to take you and we want to take you on that festival ride with us. You're going to know it from the beginning all the way up to the date and all the way through as the years
It's a great journey.
It's awesome.
And we can get artists, we can get all that. So next, your favorite.
My favorite, which turns into Jared's favorite, which turns into Ralphie's favorite.
Is it his favorite?
Probably not, but it's Ralphie's top 3 and why, Jared?
Ralphie's top 3 is born out of Ralphie wanting to do a top 10 list, us not wanting to have to research top 10 topics every week.
I wasn't going to do that.
I don't have the time.
No.
And so we decided, since he likes top 10 lists, that we would make it a top 3 list for him. The catch is he knows we're going to call sometime. He has no clue what the top 3 topic we're asking him to rate and list. We got a late start tonight, so he may not be awake when we call, but
he'll be fine. He's a gamer. So the best thing about it is he does not know the topic. We randomly call him and then he's like, oh, and it's really good.
It's been good. We've tried it 3 times. 3 times it should have been podcast gold.
3 times we should have recorded. Yeah,
we should have recorded.
Every single
we should
one.
have we should go back if we have those and just throw those in at some point if they're recorded.
Do we? Because those would have been really good outtakes.
I think I saved them.
Like,
they're awesome.
Excellent ones.
The Goodyear bar. Shh, I have to say that. All right. So after Ralphie's top 3, the next part is what? Stage left?
Stage left. That's when we end this thing and that's where we go out. So you'll know that. We'll get a little personal on what our personal lives have been as far as what's going on in our lives that week or maybe in the future. It's really cool. It's you get to know a little bit more about myself and Jared.
Yeah, what we did last week, what we're going to do, stuff like that. Or today should be fun. All right, so
Jared, hey, CTAs, this is your part, buddy.
That's my part, the calls to action. So the calls to action are, we need you, our faithful listeners or new listeners, to subscribe, rate, and review this on iTunes or Google or Stitcher or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Rate and review it. That does us a lot. Even if you don't listen or you listen to 5 minutes of it, if you subscribe, that really helps us out. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to want you to smash every button. Push, 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 push. Notifications, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. If you want to leave a comment, you want to talk about Luke's t-shirt because he goes through and picks each of those out. Obviously,
check out Jared's.
I'm Dropkick Murphy's, Luke's Charlie Daniels. There's stuff on the desk. Any of that interests you, then go ahead and leave a comment below, and we'll try to respond to it.
Jared,
We'll either respond in the comments or we'll talk about it next week.
Hey, Jared, on Anchor, they can also call in, right?
They can. So there is a spot there that I think they can go to anchor.com/the Fest podcast and leave us a message. And we may play that and talk about it. But keep it clean. Luke has virginal ears. He doesn't,
Yeah, keep it real. Keep it good. We might put you on.
And we might.
So we are rolling into the first segment here, which is ND Countryfest updates, brought to you by Lee Jaworski of Alliance Realty. Find your key with Lee. This is where we all find our ND Countryfest updates. A lot of people have been waiting for this. We have exciting news this week because I've been waiting for it.
Of course you have. You need everybody to buy those tickets again.
So in case everybody doesn't know, but we did refund every single ticket purchaser for 2020 because we did postpone into 2021.
And that's awesome because not a lot of festivals were doing that.
None that I know of.
None that we know of.
None that we know of. But yeah, I think it was a great thing. It was a good thing for everybody. We didn't want any confusion, and then we wanted everybody to get the experience they would like in 2021 for the best possible price. So that being said, Jared,
ticket sales go on sale the 19th.
Yes, which is this Wednesday. The ticket sales and the platform is going to the public at noon on Wednesday at noon Central. That's where you can get your ND Countryfest experience, your VIP tickets, which all sold out last year from VIP camping and VIP weekend tickets. But it's a new platform that we polished up. It's a new experience for them. We're all about the experience at ND Countryfest from when you're buying the ticket to through the whole months where you're ramping up to all the way to the actual show itself.
So if you want to get your best price, Wednesday's it.
And that is correct. Wednesday is it, but then it only lasts for about 7 days. So the next Wednesday, we call this our alumni pricing. So it's the best price you are ever going to get. So then they will be increased that Wednesday following. So you only have 7 days to get the best price. And
7 days to get in at the cheapest price available.
That's right. And the big thing about that, Brantley Gilbert, we announced, which is we have our largest and best lineup of ND Countryfest history with the Brantley Gilbert edition, which is Brantley Gilbert, Dustin Lynch, John Michael Montgomery, Little Texas, Diamond Rio, you name it. It is going to be an absolute 56 country music hits. Sorry, right. Jared.
Brantley Gilbert. I watched some of his videos over the weekend. They are good. I'm kind of perplexed, though.
Why?
Dude's drummer has a mohawk. That's not something I normally picture in a country band.
So he's the bad boy, right?
Right. Obviously, he's got a microphone with breast knuckles.
So Brantley Gilbert, they bring it. I mean, you're talking loud guitars, you're talking deep drums, you're talking...
I enjoyed it.
Huge energy, you're talking lights, and you can feel it. I mean, it is rock country, it's bad boy style. But what a lot of people don't know is that how he found his start. He wrote a ton of songs for Jason Aldean.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of where he is founded. But then
what's your favorite song?
I like The Weeknd.
And Bottoms Up, but that could be just because it was there.
So it's like The Weeknd, it's Bottoms Up, it's What Happens in a Small Town with Lindsay Ell.
Oh, yeah, great. That's a good one.
Yeah, they put that out last year. There's Hell of an Amen.
I like that one too.
Kicking It in the Sticks. There's, he just put out Hard Days,
right? Which
is awesome and obviously goes through what we're all feeling today in the world. We felt it today, Jared.
We did.
It was a rough one. But then we have it. We're looking forward to it. Yeah. So check out that Hard Days. That's the one from Brantley Gilbert that he just released there a couple months ago, and that baby's going to shoot right up to the top of the charts, I feel, rather quickly.
All right. Anything else going on with the fest or the Country Fest?
That's what we have right now. Let's hear a little bit more about Lee.
What sets me apart is I like to interact with my clients a little bit more, maybe just actually become more friends with them than just a client-business relationship. I'd probably have to say it'd be Who Hut, just because I like the food and my daughter absolutely loves it. I chose real estate because I like to help people, and it's fun, it's exciting, it can be stressful, but it's always good to just find a solution to a problem.
Hey, that was Lee. Thanks, Lee. That's our first founding sponsor for the Fest podcast. We appreciate you so much, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. But Who Hut, what's that?
Who Hut is a restaurant. I believe that was his favorite place to eat.
Right. So I understand it's a restaurant.
I think it's like one of those hibachi grills where they cook it in front of you and go flip it in their hat and then you eat.
Little volcanoes and stuff.
Yeah, the onion volcano.
I'm in.
Jared, here we are. This is your part.
This is my part. Festival news from around the world.
Around the world.
All right. So today,
hit us with it.
We're talking about festivals being allowed in
just say it.
Quebec. Quebec.
So we were prepping for this, and Jared kept saying Quebec.
Where did I hear it?
The attorney in him would not let
it go. It kept bothering me, so I finally looked it up.
Like the Luke Shafer say, I don't know, Jared. I was nice about it. I said, hey, I think it's Quebec. I grew up in North Dakota.
You're almost Canadian.
Pretty much. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Quebec. You're like, nah, it's Quebec.
Did you play hockey?
I'm like, how? No.
Okay, so I can't skate. Canadian.
I can't skate. I could run.
Okay.
So it's Quebec.
It's Quebec.
We found that out.
Quebec is going to allow music festivals. The catch is you can only have up to 250 people at said music festival.
And what I say with that, it's a start, right?
It's a start. But can it be a real music festival with only 250 people?
No. I mean, it can be a festival, absolutely. But is it the 10,000, 20,000 people there a day?
It's not going to be a big artist because obviously there'd be no money in it with just 250. They'd have to charge $5 to $10,000 a ticket to break even. Or you're just paying the artist.
Right. That would be extremely difficult. I think what they're trying to do, and I don't know this, right? This is just my opinion from seeing that, is that they're probably trying to test, okay, how is this going to work? Okay, let's implement this. We'll do the temperature take. I don't know, so don't quote me on this, but let's do this at the gate. Let's do this at the sanitization of throughout the whole thing. Let's see how this works. It's 250 people. It's very manageable. Right. And then let's try
get some local bands in that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg.
That's what I would imagine that is.
Right. And they haven't done one yet. They just said it was okay to do.
So we are going to watch it and see.
Right.
And we're going to report on that bad boy
next time it comes around. So the flip side of that are the live stream shows. And Country Sway is going to have a Summer Sway Streamathon at the end of the month, August 27th through the 30th, with 40 plus artists giving some medical or giving benefits to the Music Health Alliance. And you and I kind of have a different opinion of this, I guess. Maybe the same opinion-ish. I've enjoyed some of the live stream concerts that have happened since the quarantine came into effect. I like some of the, Bare Naked Ladies, Selfie Cam Jam. They do a song, there's 4 Zoom screens. Some of the bands have done really well. But you, on the other hand, are not a fan.
So not that I don't like it. I understand it. There's a place for it. Obviously, we couldn't be together. I think it's a great platform where artists can get their music art and show their art, and get their names out there and keep moving forward. They can
still get to their fans.
But I don't like it.
Right.
I don't like it. I want to go to the concert. I want to go to the festival. I want to walk in. I want to hear them testing those drums and the speakers in the air and it's going, doo, 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 doo. I want to hear the guy going 1, 1. I want to have the beer in my hand. I want to smell the stale beer in the air because it's been all over the floor since they opened up the show. And I want to see people having fun and interaction. I want to feel the energy of the people in the crowd. And I'm 100% sure so do the artists. They'd rather play in front of 20,000 people just going nuts over hearing the songs that they perform, and they perform well, versus, whether it's sitting on their couch. And I get that and I understand that. But I watched a few of them and then I was kind of, that's really cool. I like it. There's a place for it. Am I going to constantly watch them?
And then you're done.
Yeah.
So I'm on the other side, but I see your position. One of my favorite bands is the Dropkick Murphys.
And you had some great experiences with those.
Irish punk band. I've seen them 15, 20 times. Every time I go to a show, as soon as they start doing the sound check for the beginning of the show, they're about to come on because they're going to play a song called The Foggy Dew by the Chieftains.
The Foggy Dew?
The Foggy Dew. We'll have to play it for you.
Right.
And so Sinead O'Connor sings that song. And she starts belting out about the tattoo of the drums. And as soon as that song plays, my heart skips. Like, I know it's going to get rowdy. I know there's going to be some moshing. I know there's going to be some jumping. And I'm going to get excited. You can't get that from a stream. But
no, you can't.
That being said, 2 of the best things I watched in the quarantine was their St. Patrick's Day show. The Dropkick Murphys, obviously an Irish band from Boston, are known for their week-long St. Patrick's Day shows in Boston. And they couldn't do them this year. So instead, they got with someone to support it and pay for it. They went into a studio and they did a full show for St. Patrick's Day. And I loved it because it was St. Patrick's Day. I wasn't watching the Dropkick Murphys, or I was watching the Dropkick Murphys. I felt like I was involved and I felt like I was there.
Where did they do that show at?
Somewhere in Boston.
It was just somewhere.
Just a small studio. Now they did a second show with they did it streaming out of Fenway. I should get my concert shirt from that soon. And I liked it. They did it in Fenway Ballpark for where the Red Sox play. And it was great. They had people on first, second, and third out in the picture. They had drones all over the place, and it was an interesting perspective because the drones would go up. They'd show the empty stadium. They go up a little higher. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock in Boston, and hardly anybody out on the streets in the beginning. And it was just a weird view, but they were trying. They're putting out shows. They're still out there for their fans. Plus, they're getting 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views. So they're probably making a little bit of money off that deal on YouTube, and they're sponsored to do it. So it makes sense. But it's still not a live show. What do you think about drive-ins?
I don't like those either, right? I mean, I'm just I want to be there with people and kind of have freelance of it, right? I don't want to be, corralled or anything like that. But there's a place for them.
Right.
I think people who enjoy them, that's great. That's awesome. Is it for me? No, it's not for me. I don't want to go in a drive-in and watch something that it was probably like for pay-per-view.
Right.
Like you're talking the one where they recorded it and then you go in the drive-through.
Right. Metallica at the end of the month is getting ready to do a drive-in. Blake Shelton did one where they're recording it. They're going to play it on a special date. Everybody goes to the drive-through, or drive-in, and they get to see it. And
I like both of those. I like Metallica. I like Blake Shelton. Right. But do I want to go to a drive-through and watch them on a big screen? No, I don't.
The flip side is,
I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying it's not great for those artists and those bands to do that and generate revenue, which they need.
Right. They got to find
more than any time, more than anything right now.
Now, what I like about that is there's a comedian out there, Bert Kreischer, and he does he did a drive-in tour down across America and back, where he went into drive-ins. And he did a show, and he got up on the stage. They created a stage. They brought in some of these concert guys that are out of work. They put up a stage. They put it up on the drive-in movie theater screen, and people came. They got to tailgate. They got to hang out an hour and a half before. He rode around on a golf cart and waved at people, and it was still like going to a show because he was there. If he's there, I'm in. If it's just playing me a movie, I'd rather sit and watch it in my pool.
And I think it's good. I think it's good to the point that we're trying to do things and get people out and get those experiences like that. Is it for me? No, not at this point.
If somebody's live, I'm there.
Yeah.
ND Countryfest 2021 is coming back stronger and better than ever with Brantley Gilbert, Dustin Lynch, Little Texas, featuring Diamond Rio, Leroy Parnell, John Michael Montgomery, with more coming soon. Plan now to attend Dakota's largest and nation's fastest growing country music and camping festival, ndcountryfest.com.
Sponsored by Coors Light, Action Motorsports, New Vision Security, Trans Trash, Smithworks, and American Family Insurance, DJ Coulter Agency.
All right.
That was quick, Jared.
You're getting it all in there so you can get 30 seconds.
Well, you have to. Sometimes you got to squeeze those in there.
Smithworks, they got a little bit of love today on the Facebook Live. You made a drink.
Facebook Live, we made on the Thursday Facebook Live every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central.
Ish.
Like that Facebook page for ND Countryfest, you can see us there. That's where we're known for.
It's a little bit of a hot mess today, but we worked most of it out.
It's good.
It's good.
It was good.
But the drink was great. I kind of wish we had one right now.
You were ready to pound that out.
I was afterwards.
That brings us to our headliner portion of the podcast, brought to you by Bruno's Pizza. Chase the flavor. You can order your Bruno's Pizza at brunosnd.com. Any large pizza special for $15.99.
All right, so who's the headliner this week?
It's me, unfortunately, Jared.
Yeah, you hate talking about yourself, and you actually kind of do until you get going. So this could either be a 5-minute segment or it's going to take an hour. So
is this where we're taking it to the beginning?
We're going all the way back to the beginning because I think it's important for people to know that Luke's wasn't born a concert promoter.
I don't think anybody is. If you are, that's wild, child.
But you've had a unique road or journey to get where you're at. You're an insurance guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. 15 years. 15 years of insurance broker ownerage, if you want to call that franchisee.
Right. You're in Arizona, but
not born and raised
at
all.
And your country music festival is in North Dakota. Why would you do that?
Because I'm born and raised in North Dakota. That's where I'm from. That's where my roots are through and through. My great grandparents homesteaded that, back in the western part of the state.
You're old school North Dakota.
I don't think it could get any old schooler than that.
Your great grandfather was governor?
My great grandfather was governor of North Dakota in 1930. Obviously, his son was my grandpa, which is George Shafer as well, Jr.
Mm-hmm. Then you got your dad.
Yep, and that's where we're from. Actually, Bismarck is where I grew up. That's where my parents grew up, they were high school sweethearts.
They met at St. Mary's.
St. Mary's High School is the same high school that I went to,
right,
and played sports and did all that, and so did they. My father was a I would say a pretty well-known individual in the community. He was a high school coach, whether it was track and field and football. And he was at the middle school, and he was an athletic director, which we call Walker Middle School, and that's on the south side of Bismarck. I grew up actually out of town. I call it like a hobby ranch.
I don't know what that is. Like, what's a hobby ranch?
We had horses. I mean, we didn't really farm or anything like that, but we had horses, and we, did some things here and there. And we were on 15 or 20 acres, but it's a place where you could shoot shotguns and ride your motorcycle and ride your horses. And there's hay bales everywhere, and you could run down to the creek and go fishing if you wanted to. And you could go mudding with your big 4x4 Bronco. If you wanted to, you could break some U-joints and get your brother to come pull you out. And there's one story right there where I was driving into school, and my brother, I broke a U-joint on the way to school with my Bronco.
Wow.
And my brother drives by, he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was underneath it trying to fix it. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I smoked a U-joint on the way to school," which it was about a 20-minute drive in, where if you're from Bismarck, that's a long trip.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But my father was
it's like right around the corner from where I'm from.
Right. My father was like I said, pretty well-known figure in the community. He taught a lot of kids and was the athletic director there, and that's where he came from. And some of those, he passed away when I was a freshman in high school. So
how'd you deal with that?
I mean, it's devastating, right? I mean, you never get over it. I've never gotten over it. I mean, it's fine. You live with it, but
you were 15. Like, my dad passed away 7 years ago when I was 43, and it was rough. I can't imagine at 15 you went through that.
Oh, it totally sucks.
Right.
It totally sucks.
So you put your energies into what? Football?
Sports, right? Because there's a common thing that we had together, as far as my family, sports family, whether it was track and field or football or even some basketball here and there. But that's kind of what I turned to. I turned to football a lot because it's just not a lot, 100%. I was all in. I'm like, hey, there's a couple things here. I loved it to begin with. I always wanted to play D1 football anyway. And it was like, I need to keep myself clean from trouble. And you also had to have good grades in order to play. So I was like, hey,
it'd get you into college. But you know what? I love that story about your dad taking you to church.
I'll tell that one real quick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, my mother, so sorry, Mom, if you're seeing that, but what we are doing is on Sundays.
Yes, go ahead.
on Sundays we always would go to church, right?
Right.
So not all the time she would want to go, and she would be like, "Okay, you guys go, and you guys have a good time." And just be me and my other older brother, that's 5 years closer to me, and my dad, and we'd be like, "Okay, we're going to church," and we would leave the house, and we would roll in. And mind you, remember, he was the athletic director of that middle school, which had a great football field and a great field goal posts and all that kind of stuff. And we would be rolling in, and we would be sitting there, and he'd be driving us, and we would be like thinking we're going to church, and we'd be rolling right into the football field complex, and he would park, and he would open up the trunk, and there was a bunch of footballs in there, and like, "Hey, today we're going to go play some football." And they're like, "We're not going to church." And we're like, "Nah." And it was really cool because it was, he was always the full-time QB. And, I'm 5 years younger than my closest brother. And he would, he'd be all-time QB. I'd be defense. He'd be offense. He'd score some touchdowns, all that kind of stuff. And we'd go from here and there and all that. And it was a blast. And those are the memories I'll never, ever forget, because those were great.
So how do you convince your mom that you guys went to church?
So here's the kicker on that. What we would do when we were done, and mind you, we already had grass stains on our clothes, and there's grass everywhere. But before we would go home, would go to church. And this didn't happen all the time, but
a good portion of it.
A good amount.
So you were happy when Mom decided not to go to church?
Oh, yeah. We would actually go to church before we had home. And then I think it was me, actually. I'd run in and grab a church bulletin. Everybody knows what a church bulletin is. It has announcements and the date and all that kind of stuff on it. And that was our proof that we went to church. And we get home, and she goes, "Oh, how was church, boys? How was church, Andy?" He's like, "Oh, great. Oh, did you bring home a bulletin?" "Yep, sure did. Here it is." And my brother and I would just run out and just keep playing, all that kind of stuff. So those are great memories, some things we'll never forget. And actually, I've never told you this.
Oh, some sharing secrets.
He did actually get busted.
Oh, yeah?
It was later on when we were older. And my mom was talking to one of her friends one day.
Right.
And she was like, hey, I saw Andy and the two boys out there playing football on Sunday. It was great to see them out there. It was fun. And we were watching, we'd kick field goals and all that kind of stuff. And there was like a walking path, you know,
right.
so people would be walking by. And my mom goes, what? What, on Sunday? And he was like, yeah. And that was towards the end. And she didn't really mind because they're spending time together. And he's a busy guy too. But
right.
It was cherishable moments.
So when I was 16, my dad went back to law school at the University of Wyoming. And so my mom and my sister stayed up in Cody, where I grew up. And my dad and I moved to Laramie, right? And my dad would go back every weekend or every other weekend. And there were a couple other law students who lived below us, right? And so when we finally moved out and were moved to a different place a year later, the law students beneath us were like, yeah, you guys were great roommates, except when you went away on the weekends and your son just had party after party after party. So I was like, oh, busted. All right. So you're a little bit of a local football legend-ish.
I'd say a little bit.
Are you being humble by saying that? I've seen your high school senior picture. Was that for the ladies or was that for the football?
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Or a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
But it was one of those things that, I had a good high school career. I started right away when I was a sophomore, and then obviously junior and senior. We won the state championship when I was a sophomore. We were runner-up when I was a junior, and we lost in the quarterfinals to the eventual state champion when I was a senior. And along that way was those invite camps that I told you about.
So
for major colleges.
College recruitment starts junior year?
Well, what was happening, that's back in the day a long time ago where they really couldn't talk to you, but they could send you things in the mail and say, hey, come to this camp. We'd love to see you
big
here.
ass packets. Which were your favorite?
So I went to two different camps. It was the summer of my junior year. One was the University of Washington. It's totally it was just a recruiting camp, right? I mean, everybody knows that. And everybody knew it. You're pulling.
It's not open to normal people.
500 kids from around the country.
Yeah, you're going there because they want to take a look at you to see if you're going to be a husky?
That's right. A dog. Go
Fair
dog.
enough.
So went to University of Colorado as well, and did their recruiting camp and did that. And it too. There's 500 kids from all around the country. It went really well. Not getting too far into it, but there's this kid from North Dakota at that camp that ended up being the fastest kid in camp. And what's kind of crazy.
Did you know?
Did I know what?
Did you know the kid?
Yeah, it was me.
Oh, you? Because you were the fastest kid?
In that story.
They obviously didn't.
That kid was wearing a North Dakota State football shirt on that day. So what it was, in case anybody doesn't know how these work back then, is that these are recruiting camps. So you come in and they would height you, weigh you, put you through a bunch of testing, whether it was the 40-yard dash, the verticals, and then certain drills or agility drills, and you time them and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then at the end of the camp, and then they're running through the drills for 2-3 days, and they watch it and they talk to you because you have them there, and they can talk to you then if you're on their property.
So they wrap up this University of Colorado camp with a foot race?
So we're right on the main field of the University of Colorado. It's the fastest man competition.
So how do they choose who the fastest man is?
By the times that you ran when you first got there, when they tested you.
All right, so they drag out how many people?
So mind you, at the time they went by class first, so it was like top 5 in each class. I was number 9 throughout the whole camp to begin with. So I was 9 because I was going to be a senior. So I was in the
500 people.
Yeah, which was real. I was like, sweet,
I'd take it.
I'm rolling. This is good. And I was like, hey, we'll line up and we'll run this. We ran it. They lined us up, the 5 seniors, and then ran it. And then there was like 3 of us that tied in that group. So then they took, okay, you 3 just go to the finals, which they took all the kids from those ages that won and then put them in. And there was like 10 of us and ran. And then there's 2 of us that tied, and I was one of the 2. And then they ran it just him and I. And
how many times they run that race?
Too many, if you ask me.
Right.
Then they pulled a recruit, which was like a 5-star recruit out of the stands that they knew. Obviously, they knew everybody
fast.
there. Super fast. And he actually ended up going to the University of Colorado.
Oh.
But they pulled him out
He
and
got
said,
the Scully, not you?
Right. So he came down and raced, and we raced twice, and tied the third time. We ran again. So at that time, I think I ran like 7 times.
Wow.
And I ended up, we ran the last time. I beat him. I ended up clocking like a 4:41:40 on the 7th time, and I won it. And here's the kid from North Dakota that was the fastest kid in camp.
That's awesome.
It was a cool story. I loved it. My brother was in the stands. He was like, this is great. This is fun.
So then you go into your senior year, you're recruited by 4 or 5 D1 schools.
Yeah, at that day, the mail, and it was always fun going to the mail because you get like Nebraska and you get all this kind of stuff in the mail. But then actually when they could call you, mind you, there was no cell phones.
Right.
That's how long ago it was. But there's a certain time in August, I think it was like the 3rd or 2nd week in August, that's when they could actually contact you. There was a specific day that it started.
Right.
And I'm sitting around after practice. I had just eaten and I was like, okay, I was hanging
Praying
out
for somebody to call.
I was just hoping, right? And
it wasn't a girl, it was a coach. That's kind of weird.
No, and that night there was like about 6 or 7 phone calls that I got. Out of those 6 or 7 phone calls, there was 5 full ride scholarships from, anywhere from University of North Dakota, North Dakota State, University of Minnesota, University of Wyoming.
Go Pokes.
Jared's from Cody, Wyoming.
I am. The Pokes are my first football team, but I'm through and through a Arizona State Sun Devil now.
Yeah. And then I got calls.
Yeah. There's funny stories.
That's because you went to school.
I did.
But then there was other calls that came through that some I couldn't believe. Like I thought it was a joke. One was the University of Nebraska, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, that's you. Yeah, I thought it was my buddy pranking me and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't. And it was a great ride. It was fun. Recruiting is a process as well, especially for at that time I was 17 years old. Then I was like, oh, the dream's coming true. D1 football, I'm good to go. I'm gonna go and play my senior year, and I'll have a great easy decision at the end.
Could you imagine if you were getting recruited now? You could have the hats out, and you could like do a 3-card money shuffle on who you were gonna pick, and
it's crazy what they go through now.
So you get into your senior year, you've got all these offers, and then boom, they all get fired.
The head coaches got fired. And mind you, that's after their season. So that's right around, we're talking late December, early January.
So now what?
They're all fired. Every scholarship I had was
went
gone.
From D1 to, oh boy.
Gone, over, gone. So all of a sudden I'm talking to the recruiters, the recruiting coordinators they were recruiting me out of those schools. And they're like, hey, unfortunately, I don't know if I'll have a job because that coach just got fired. You know this. And we can't honor any of your scholarship because there's a new whole
That's gotta
crew
suck
coming.
at like, how old, 17?
It was devastating, man, because it was literally like your dream.
Right, you're getting out of North Dakota.
Yeah.
You're going to go see the world, I guess, if you could go to Wyoming and call that the world. I guess I'd want to go to Washington, I suppose.
Well, it's different, right?
Right? You're getting out, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're not.
And I don't want to seem like it was I'm getting out of North Dakota. And was it? Yeah, I did.
All
Absolutely.
right.
I want to go experience something else. I want to see somewhere
I grew up in a
else
small town. I get it. And I mean, Bismarck is the big city from where I grew up of 5,000 people. But I wanted to get out of Wyoming at some point to see what else was out there.
And Bismarck-Mandan isn't small. It's not large. I mean, it's about 100,000 people.
That's huge.
It is.
If you come from Wyoming.
Right,
That's the big city, boy.
But I wanted to go experience something else, go play football at the highest level I could.
Right. And then here you are, 17, everything changed, and boom, North Dakota State or...
It was North Dakota State or University of North Dakota. Kansas came in late. That was slightly devastating too, because they literally said, hey, and that was a new staff that had just got hired. They came in way late. Like it was literally, I don't know, the end of January, and you sign in early first week in February. And they were like, hey, they have boards and they rank all the guys, right? And they're like, hey, we're taking 3 defensive backs.
Right.
You're ranked number 4 out of them.
If this guy doesn't, then you're there. That's got to suck.
And we all know what happened there.
Apparently they didn't take him. You didn't go to Kansas, and you ended up where?
North Dakota State.
Which was great.
Yeah, it was great. I'd never change it for the world. I ended up back right where I needed to be, right where I wanted to be, and a lot would argue, and I would still argue that, you have the Minnesotas and you have the Wyomings, and it's like, yeah, that was great, but at that time, NDSU would probably have beaten those teams when I played.
And if you don't know, NDSU is they're the perennial football champs of Division II.
Division, I played when it was Division II, and it was right towards the tail end of when I was there. It transferred over to the FCS, one AA, then into FCS football.
And they're a perennial program. Game day, ESPN Game Day shows up there. If you want to talk about the college football experience, they're one of the best.
And Carson Wentz is from there. Everybody knows who Carson Wentz is. He's from my hometown, Bismarck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I know his dad.
Think we can get him on?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't
it's
know.
Always a shot.
Those personal connections, right?
Always got to ask.
If you don't ask, they can't say no.
That's right. So anybody who follows college football,
So if you know Carson, just tell them we're looking for him. All right. So if you know anything about college football, you know about the Bison.
Yep, and that's right. And that's where I ended up, which is great. And we had a great experience. The biggest thing for me, that's where I ended up meeting and finding two of my biggest mentors, and that pretty much changed my life from that moment.
And those are big name coaches in the NFL now.
Big name coaches that are in the coaches that are in the NFL for a long time now.
And they kind of made you into the man you are today.
It really helped. And in the next episode, that's what we'll go into.
We're going to cut you off here because that's a whole nother hour of talking about Luke's NDSU football career, some of his mentors. Maybe next week we might get into roller derby, you think?
Yeah, we'll go into that. And
you think next week? I mean, your college football stories could be way longer. We might not get to hear roller derby for like episode 3, 4, or 5.
And I was really thinking about this mentor thing, like some of the things that they had said to me that really hit me,
right,
and still have stuck with me.
Well,
so I'll mention those.
And they're big name coaches.
100%.
You started out as a student coach, a graduate assistant coach. You started some youth football programs in Bismarck because they didn't have any. And, eventually we might get
mud runs because it wasn't there, other things because it wasn't there.
There's a huge entrepreneurial swing, but it all sort of builds itself at NDSU, right?
Builds itself at NDSU and North Dakota.
Right. And that's where you're from, and that's why
It'll be fun. We'll touch on that roller derby because there's some really good.
Roller derby's great. I didn't know that. When I found out, I've known you 8 or 9 years, and I found out about roller derby 8 months ago, 8 months. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And you're like, ooh, and it's good. It's entertaining. All right.
We're rolling in.
Are we rolling in?
Rolling in, Jared. Yeah. Great.
ND Countryfest 2021 is coming back stronger and better than ever with Brantley Gilbert, Dustin Lynch, Little Texas, featuring Diamond Rio, Leroy Parnell, John Michael Montgomery, with more coming soon. Plan now to attend Dakota's largest and nation's fastest growing country music and camping festival, ndcountryfest.com.
Sponsored by Coors Light, Action Motorsports, New Vision Security, Trans Trash, Smithworks, and American Family Insurance, DJ Coulter Agency.
Brothers and sisters, I hear you asking yourself day after day, what am I gonna have for lunch? Do I want another burger? Do I need another taco? Brothers and sisters, may I introduce you to Bruno's Pizza, the bread of endless possibilities. Bruno's Pizza, 910 East Front Avenue, online at brunosnd.com. Can I get a napkin?
All right. Can you get a napkin?
I love it, man. Now we're going into one of our favorites.
Speaking of Bruno's Pizza, we're going to get Ralphie on the phone.
Time for Ralphie's top 3. Let's get him on the phone and see if he is around. This is where we give him the
Do you think he's awake?
He has no clue what we're going to ask him, what the top 3 is for his list. Come on, Ralphie. Let's pick that up. You can hear it. Let's Ralphie. Hey, Ralphie.
Jared.
Are you awake, buddy?
Hey, what's up?
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
We got a late start.
Hey.
Sorry about that.
Welcome to Ralphie's top 3. How are you feeling today, Ralphie?
Really good. It's been a busy day, but it's been going good.
Right on.
I'm going to give it to you straight, my friend. Here we go. Ralphie's top 3. This is your list. You are going to give us and all of our listeners out there your top 3 of the best sports cars in your life and color.
In his life, he's
not in your life, but your favorite sports cars and color.
Oh, so what he likes.
What he likes.
All right.
Sports cars?
Cars. Like
vroom, vroom, that.
You know it's going to be like the DeLorean or something.
Oh, I would love it. Number 3, hit it. Let's see it. Let's hear it.
I would say Porsche.
Number 3, Porsche. What color?
What model and
I
color?
would say black.
Oh. Okay.
And I'll go Ford Mustang.
Oh,
Number 2.
a little Ford Mustang. Okay.
What color?
I would go white.
White.
White. All right.
All right. Number 1.
Number
Hold
1.
on.
Hit it. Ooh, Ralphie's number 1.
Ralphie?
Yeah.
I'm thinking color. You guys threw me on a loop with the color.
That's what threw you on the loop? It wasn't the sports car?
The car.
You were ready for, water?
I would go
The suspense is killing me.
BMW red.
It was
a red what?
BMW.
Whoa. A Beamer rolling in my Beamer.
I don't think that's how that's.
The Ford Mustang
Yeah.
and the BMW are close mix.
So would you drive really fast in these cars, or just kind of let it roll, like
Or just
Beachfront
just
Avenue?
let it roll.
let it roll. Leave it in the garage. Just look at it.
Yeah.
All right.
I could see you in any one of those cars, my friend. Any one of them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ralphie. That's Ralphie's top 3. Come back in the next episode. It's fun. It's interesting. It puts him on his toes. Ralphie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, Luke.
Have a good night, buddy.
Bye.
All right. Stage left. What happens here?
Let's get the hell out of here, Jared. I'm done. Let's get out of here.
We're done?
Yeah, stage left. We're exiting, man.
We're close. We're doing good. All right. So stage left. What are we going to do in stage left?
This is where we get a little personal, what we got on our own personal lives going on. This is where our audience and our listeners can learn a little bit about us, what we have going on in our daily lives.
All right.
What did you do? What did you have going on this week, Jared, yesterday? Or what did you have going on this weekend coming up?
Yesterday was a lot of getting ready for this, but last weekend I watched The Pickle King.
Pickle King, okay.
Seth Rogen movie on HBO Max.
What how many stars?
Okay, so I was talking with my mom about this today. And Mom, I recommended it to her. And, Seth Rogen, king of the weed movies, I suppose, Pineapple Express, This Is the End, all those sorts of things. It's a hard recommendation to Mom. But if I did...
Your mom... Did she watch it?
She did watch it, and she wasn't sure she was going to like it, but it's not like his other movies. So it's a little bit about family. I guess the central story is family.
Yeah.
Dude from the 1910s gets pickled.
What do you mean pickled?
He falls into a big thing. He's working at a pickle factory. He falls in the pickle factory.
Like for pickles you eat.
And then he gets pickled, and then some kids find him in 2020, and he pops out alive. He's got one great-grandkid, who somehow they release him out of the hospital without dissecting him and taking him up. And him and the kid go on some adventures on how a 1910 guy reacts in the 20s or 2020s. And it was a unique sort of story. So I really much enjoyed it.
Was it funny?
It was funny. It was very funny. Seth Rogen's very funny. It wraps around. It's kind of a warm, feel-good movie at the end. So,
you love movies. Is that right?
I do.
I love movies. You've collected DVDs.
Dig through all the content I can. So
that's good. So you enjoyed it. Did you smoke any cigars while you were doing that?
I did. I sat there in the pool and smoked some nice Dominican Opus X cigars in the pool. Had a couple little beverages, probably. Enjoyed the movies and, tried to beat the heat.
I don't know if everybody caught that, but Jared said he was in his pool.
Smoking a cigar.
Jared's got the ultimate setup in his backyard with the pool and the big screen in the backyard and all that good stuff. So you enjoy your pool.
I enjoy my pool. It's the only way to get through Phoenix in August, right? Watching a movie in the pool. So this is going to be a fun one because Luke's going to go on a rant. I'm going to go try to fix the video and see if that'll work. So Luke's going to go on a rant about having to teach his kids or participate in online learning?
Online learning, yeah. So I got 3 kids. We ended up starting school about a couple of weeks ago. And I feel for everybody out there that has kids and all of a sudden you are teaching them and they are going through learning at home. So what is totally, it's challenging. It's hard. I get it. It's and we got to do what we got to do. But man, I'll tell you, I got 3 kids and they're all on different platforms. They're all on different assignments and they have, 7 different teachers and they all want to do different things and how to put this over there. And I want you to submit your assignment this way. And this one wants to do it this way. And we're trying to learn the stuff ourselves because we're trying to teach our kids to make sure they don't get behind.
Well, I mean,
and it's challenging.
That's what happens when you have kids going to like 3 different schools, right?
They don't go to 3. They go to the same school.
So they haven't figured it out at the same school how to do it.
But I will tell you this. Initially, man, we were up to here and I was done with it. And so was my wife. And my wife is great and I love her. And then my kids were getting a little bit frustrated.
Right.
And some of them, and I love the teachers and you guys are doing an amazing job.
It's hard on them too because they're having to adapt. They don't know what they're doing.
They've never done it, right? So everybody had to adjust on the fly. And it was hard.
Well, you're in what, day 4?
No, we're in week 2 now.
Oh.
So I can tell you this. In week 2 now we're getting into a rhythm. Now, initially, some of the teachers were over-assigning, overloading work because I think they wanted to fill the day, but they forgot they have like 5 other classes that they have homework in.
Right. So they're like, hey, kid.
Yeah, but so then what happened? They started lightening up the workload. So we saw this the last couple of days where it was like all of a sudden don't have 4 assignments per class. It's like 1. And then, all the kids and us were able to know the software now and how to, this teacher wants it submitted this way. Now we know and all that kind of stuff. So it gets better. But I'm telling you, initially, if you haven't started school with those kids, just hang in there because it'll get better. Everything will filter through. It's new for everybody. But man, it was so challenging. We were up until 8 at night getting their homework done for a week straight.
You called me what, at 8:30? And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? You're like, I'm out getting food for the kids. And I'm like, it's 8:30, Luke. He's like, I know. I just got done doing their homework.
Isn't that the night I told you, like, Jared, I wouldn't pass 4th grade right now.
You're like, I'm not smarter than a 4th grader.
I'm like, there's no way. But anyway, it's all working out. It's all
and you're not alone. Any judgment, my
No.
Facebook feed is full of parents that are about to become alcoholics, I think, because they're having to play teachers, parents, work and do all of those things at the same time. And that's, it's hard on everybody, except for those of us that don't have kids.
That's true.
We just look at you and be like, sucks. Sorry.
It does suck, but it's not anymore because it's getting better. I guarantee you, hang in there. If your kids haven't started school yet and they're doing the online thing right now, hang in there. It gets better. You learn the technology with them. Try to help them as much as you can, and then they'll project them to it. But initially, I'm telling you, it's hard.
It's hard. You can see it on your face every day. Although,
not anymore. Tomorrow should be better, and then the next day
you're getting out and you're going camping, right?
Well, yeah. I do a little camping.
You gonna video some content for us?
No way, man. I'm just hanging out.
You're just hanging out. Technology?
No technology. Speaking of that, how can they find us, Jared? That's our new podcast, The Fest Podcast. We're dropping episode number 1 right now.
So where are we going? Are we going YouTube or are we going podcast?
All of it. Tell them all of it. Tell them to call in on Anchor.
If you're watching YouTube and you're going to see our video go in and out a couple times because the camera mysteriously turned itself on and off a couple times, but hopefully we can get that patched together.
Oh, it'll be all good, man.
It'll all be good. We'll make up some animation. I don't know. We'll do something. If you're there, then you're going to go to YouTube. You're going to smash all the buttons, notifications, subscribe, like, comment, review, share this bad boy podcast with all your friends because that's going to help us grow. The more we grow, the more of these we can do, the more content we can do. If you're listening to this as a podcast, whether it's on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever, Google, Android, Spotify, which is a big podcasting place, we'd love to take the Joe Rogan 100 million money right off the bat, because we're so worth it.
It's lofty.
Yeah, lofty. We're only 52 minutes into our first podcast. We're ready for that big check. But if you're on any of those, we'd like you to subscribe. We'd like you to rate it because that helps us out, and review it. And if you like us, you don't even have to listen. You can listen. Just as long as we're getting subscribed.
Preferably you listen. Hang out with us. We want you to hang out with us.
If you're not listening, you're missing out on the Luke Shafer patented laugh. But yeah, those are all the spots. And if you want to go to anchor.com/thefestpodcast, there should be a spot there that you can leave a voicemail message that we can download and throw in this podcast there and use it to either talk with us or talk with us. We'll play it. If you have a question, comment, we'd love to play it on air.
Do that. We'd love to hear from you. And Jared, let's get the hell out of here. We're done.
Push a button. We're done. All right.
Thanks for everybody. We'll see you next episode.
Wow.